Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm Lauren Negrete. For a 60th night, protesters took to the streets in Portland. Federal police declared unlawful assembly and arrested at least one demonstrator. Laura Podesta has the latest, including plans today for the U.S. Attorney General to defend the use of federal agents helping to quell the unrest. The groups Wall of Moms and Don't Shoot PDX filing a federal lawsuit this week against the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Attorneys on the case claim DHS agents were not properly appointed or approved. They're also voicing constitutional concerns. The legal team references the right to protest under the First Amendment, as well as worries around unlawful search and seizure under the Fourth Amendment.
Night after night, these attacks from the federal officers are happening around the same time. These responses are unprovoked, they are excessive, and they are war crimes, quite honestly.
Acting Secretary of Homeland Secretary Chad Wolf said agents are in Portland in response to violent criminal activity. He says they are respecting those who are peacefully protesting and that DHS has to protect federal property and law enforcement there. He's also said his team is ready to pull officers out if violence stops. Continuing coverage on the aftermath of the weekend protests here in Eugene, familiar sights to what we've seen in Portland: riots, property damage, and vandalism. Eugene Mayor Lucy Vinnis, Police Chief Chris Skinner, and City Councilor Greg Evans all agreed that violent behavior won't be tolerated. Apparently, 75 to 100 people broke off from the original BLM movement and are likely responsible for the destruction downtown. Mayor Vinnis says the need for reform and action is real, but says the violent actions are unacceptable.
There's always a small group of people that don't want to engage in that work. They don't want to engage in that partnership and collaboration and problem solving. They're more interested in making a statement and doing it with destruction. And so they're not going to deter us from the good work that we can do together.
The mayor added the counter-protesters, including the man arrested for shooting his gun during Saturday's event, created a volatile situation. Vinnis says we as a community need to work together to engage, not dismantle our work towards a better future. New information this morning: Eugene City Council voted against adding a charter amendment on the November ballot last night. The amendment would have let residents vote on whether to use star voting to elect the mayor and city councilors. A star voting ballot would direct residents to score each candidate on a scale of 0 to 5, with 0 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. The two lowest scoring candidates are deemed finalists. The finalists with the highest preference points would be elected to office. This came after a petition to get star voting on the ballot was rejected due to some signatures not being verified. Star voting supporters went to the council saying that signatures were wrongly rejected and asked them to vote to put the measure on the ballot. Council voted 5-4 against the action. And happening today, Governor Kate Brown is outlining her metrics for what it'll take for schools to reopen in-person classes. School districts have a few more weeks to submit their plans. This should provide further guidance. We'll be keeping you updated on air and online at KVAL.com. Governor Jay Inslee now extending the grace period for new COVID restrictions and on weddings and on funerals. Changes set to start August 6th have now been pushed back by a weekend to Monday, August 10th. Under the new guidance, wedding receptions are banned and ceremonies limited to 20% occupancy, up to 30 people. The new restrictions, part of a rollback on some activities as the outbreak continues to grow. These rollbacks include tighter restrictions on bars, restaurants, and fitness centers. Oregon is reporting 340 new confirmed and presumptive COVID-19 cases as of yesterday, with no new deaths. The state stands at more than 17,000 cases now, and 289 people have died. Here in Lane County, total cases have reached 458 after 21 more were reported. 35 of those are still contagious and 3 are in the hospital. Douglas County has seen 119 cases now, with 40 people currently in isolation. Coos County is reporting 80 total cases, including 17 presumptive. After 30 years, Powell's Books is closing down 2 locations at Portland International Airport. The store and kiosk at the airport are both shutting down. The Portland staple laid off the majority of staff in March at the start of the pandemic. Although they were able to bring back about 100 workers thanks to online orders, it looks like they still had to make some sacrifices. The Powell's store in the Pearl District, Beaverton, and 2 Southeast locations are still open. And coming up, the Port of Vancouver got a pretty big shipment yesterday. We'll tell you where it's headed next. Plus, a travel rule in Washington, D.C. that's going to affect over half of the country. We'll have more details when we come back.